Howdy. Hi, everybody. Sam Goodman, really fucking scary stories. Hope you're doing amazing today, wherever you find yourself in this big, creepy, crawly, macabre, super weird, fun, murdery, paranormal-y world. We're on our final episode of season 4. Can you fucking believe it? We're on episode 13. We'll probably do some post-season stuff, so don't you fret, but maybe not. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any upcoming seasons like season 5 and season 6 and season 107. Who knows how far and long this thing will go? I don't know. I'm just winging it here. But make sure you're subscribed if you haven't listened to season 1, season 2, season 3. And hopefully season 4. But if not, go back and listen to those. There's tons of great episodes back there. In the meantime, before we get to maybe some of that post-season fun, post-season fun, send me an email, rfsspod, that's rfsspod at gmail.com. Let me know what you want to hear in season 5. Send me some of your really fucking scary stories and we can do some like listener episodes. I don't know. We'll see. We'll make it happen. It's going to be fun, but this is the end. My dear friend, episode 13, season 4, For Whom the Bell Tolls. We're talking about Mary Bell. Mary Bell killed 2 young boys in 1968. When she was released from prison after serving a 12-year sentence, she was only 23 years old. So pause and do the math do some quick math. Some quick math on that Mary Bell was only 10 when she started offing people. She was 10 years old when she became a murderer. But her experiences of violence didn't even begin there. Pain and death were her companions from almost the moment of her birth. She was born on May 26, 1957, to Betty, a 16-year-old prostitute who reportedly told doctors to take that thing away from me when she first saw her daughter. Things went farther downhill from there. Betty was often away from home on business, doing the family business there. But these times when Betty was away, it was amazing for Mary. It was a kind of a relief because she was subject to mental and physical abuse when her mother was present. Betty's own sister witnessed Betty try to give Mary away to a woman who had been unsuccessfully trying to adopt, but the sister quickly recovered Mary herself. Mary was also strangely accident-prone. She once fell from a window, ouch, and on another occasion, she was accidentally overdosed on sleeping pills. Some attribute these accidents to Betty's determination to rid herself of this thing that she didn't want, a child, right? She didn't want the child, so let's toss it out the window. Let's overdose it on sleeping pills. When it's born, doctors, take this weird-looking thing away from me. But some folks kind of attribute these to the symptoms of Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Betty longed for the attention and sympathy her daughter's accidents brought to her. So maybe it was a 2 birds, 1 stone kind of deal. According to later accounts given by Mary herself, her mother began to prostitute her out when she was just 4 years old. What the fuck is wrong with people? Can we just say that? Like 4 years old. This is uncorroborated by family members, but it doesn't sound like it's outside of the realm of possibility. The family members, they did, however, know that Mary's young life had already been marked by loss. She had seen her 5-year-old friend run over and killed by a bus. She's getting beaten. She's getting accidentally falling out windows, accidentally overdosing on sleeping pills. A lot of mental and physical abuse. Just bad for Mary Bell. Given all that had happened, it did not surprise them that Mary, by the age of 10, had become a strange child, withdrawn, manipulative, always hovering on the edge of violence. For weeks before her first murder, Mary Bell had been acting strangely. On May 11, 1968, Mary had been playing with the 3-year-old boy when he was badly injured. In a fall, he fell from the top of an air raid shelter. His parents, they're like, accident. Okay, cool. Just an accident. The following day, however, 3 mothers came forward to tell police that Mary had attempted to choke their daughters. There were some police interviews and a stern talking to happened, but there were no charges that were filed. Then on May 25th, the day before she turned 11, Mary Bell strangled 4-year-old Martin Brown to death in an abandoned house in Scotswood, England. She left the scene and returned with a friend, Norma Bell, no relation, strangely enough, to find they'd been beaten there by 2 local boys who had been playing in the house and stumbled on the body. Police were mystified. Besides a little blood and saliva on the victim's face, there were no obvious signs of violence. There was, however, an empty bottle of painkillers on the floor near the body. In the absence of better information, didn't have much info to go on, they assumed Martin Brown had swallowed the pills and his death was ruled an accident. But Martin's grieving family might have started to suspect otherwise when little Mary Bell showed up on their doorstep in the days after Martin's death and asked to see him. His mother gently explained to her that Martin was dead, but Mary said she already knew that. She wanted to see his body in the coffin. Martin's mother slammed the fucking door in her face, as she should. Shortly after, Mary and her friend Norma broke into a nursery school and vandalized it with notes taking responsibility for Martin Brown's death and promising to kill again. Police assumed that the notes were just some morbid prank for the nursery school. This was just the latest and most disturbing series of break-ins. They had been going through some stuff, and they finally installed an alarm system to stop that in the future. It was a smart choice. That was the good choice because it caught Mary and Norma at the scene of the crime several nights later, but they were simply loitering outside when police arrived, so they were let off the hook. In the meantime, Mary was telling her fellow classmates that she'd killed Martin. Her reputation as a show-off and a liar prevented anyone from taking these claims seriously. That is, until another boy turned up. Dead. On July 31st, 2 months after the first murder, Mary Bell and her friend Norma killed 3-year-old Brian Howe by strangulation. This time, Bell mutilated the body with scissors, scratching his thighs and butchering the penis. I'm not sure why that's always the go-to, but there it is. It's always the butchering of the penis. Ladies, I don't know. When Brian's sister went to look for him, Mary and Norma offered to help. They searched the neighborhood. Mary even pointed out the concrete blocks that hid his body, but Norma said he wouldn't be there, and Brian's sister moved on. When Brian's body was finally found, the neighborhood panicked. 2 boys were dead in 2 months. Police interviewed local children, hoping some of them had seen something and would lead to a suspect. They received a shock when the coroner's report came back, as Brian's blood had cooled. New marks appeared on his chest. Someone had used a razor blade to scratch the letter M on his torso. And there was another disturbing note. The lack of force used in the attack suggested that Brian's killer might have been a kiddo, a child. Mary and Norma did a poor job of disguising their interest in the investigation. In their interviews with police, they acted strangely, they acted excited, they were evasive. When police pointed out that they had been seen with Brian Howe on the day of his death, they're like, oh, no way, like, really? Bad. Like they were acting very suspicious. And on the day of Brian's burial, Mary was spotted lurking outside of his house. She even laughed and rubbed her hands together when she saw his coffin. They called her back for a second interview. Mary, sensing that investigators were closing in, Mary made up this story about seeing Brian getting hit by an 8-year-old boy the day that he died. The boy, she said, had been carrying a pair of broken scissors. That was her mistake. The mutilation of the body with scissors had been kept from the press and the public. It was a detail known only to investigators and one other person, Brian's murderer. Both Norma and Mary broke down under further questioning. Norma began cooperating with police and implicated Mary, who herself admitted to being present during Brian Howe's murder, but tried to place the blame on Norma. Both girls were charged and a trial date was set. At trial, the prosecutors told the court that Bell's reason for committing the murders was solely for the pleasure and excitement of killing. The British press referred to her as evil born, and the jury agreed that Mary Bell had committed the murders and handed down a guilty verdict in December. Manslaughter, not murder, was a conviction, as court psychiatrists had convinced the jury that she showed classic symptoms of being a psychopath and could not be held fully responsible for her actions. Norma Bell was regarded as an unwilling accomplice that had fallen under bad influence, and she was simply acquitted. Yeah, there you go. So Norma Bell, not related to Mary Bell, but getting murdery together. Mary, manslaughter. Norma, acquitted. The judge concluded that Mary was a dangerous person and a serious threat to other children. She was sentenced to be imprisoned at Her Majesty's pleasure, a British legal term that denotes just an indeterminate sentence, like basically until you feel like you can be let out. And so apparently those powers that be were impressed with Bell's treatment and rehabilitation and felt like it was appropriate to let Mary Bell out in 1980, and she was released on license, which means that she was technically still serving her sentence but able to do so while living in the community under strict probation. Mary Bell was also given a new identity to provide her with a chance to start a new life and protect her from, all that tabloid attention. Even still, she was forced to move a couple times. The press was hounding her, newspapers, the public. Everyone wanted to get a peek at Mary Bell. So they always managed to somehow find a way to track her down. And then things grew worse for Bell after she had her daughter in 1984. Bell's daughter didn't know about her mother's crimes until she was 14, when a tabloid paper was able to find Bell's common-law husband and thus track Bell down. Soon, a slew of journalists surrounded their houses, camping out the whole 9 yards. The family had to escape their home with bed sheets over their heads. Today, Bell is in protective custody at a secret address. Both she and her daughter remain anonymous and are protected under court order. Some families, especially the victims' families, do not feel that she deserves this protective custody. The mother of Martin Brown saying, "It's all about her and how she has to be protected. As victims, we are not given the same rights as killers." Nevertheless, Mary Bell remains in protective custody by the British government today, and court rulings protecting the identities of certain convicts are even unofficially referred to as Mary Bell orders. Fun fact. So there you go. For whom the bell tolls. Mary Bell, one of the youngest, technically serial killers. There's two or more that's technically a serial killer. 10 years old when she committed her first murder. Could you? Serial killers are scary enough as it is. Much less one that's 10 years old. That's a really fucking scary story. Have you had a really fucking scary experience? Have you seen a ghost? Have you been on a macabre adventure? Would you like to share it on air? Would you like for us to tell that story? Or you just have something horrid that you would like for us to talk about? Send us an email at rfsspod. That's rfsspod@gmail.com. Make sure that you subscribe. New episodes come out every single Friday. We look forward to continuing this creepy, crawly, morbid, macabre, and grotesque adventure with you, the listener. We love you, and we will see you soon. Thank you for joining us today on our trip into the dark. We hope that you join us again next week for all things horror, all things macabre, all things grotesque, here on Really Fucking Scary Stories.